Hey, my name is Laurie. I'm a solo developer and this is my VR racing game. At this point, I've been working on the game for about 5 or 6 weeks, and yesterday I sat down to start working on the AI, but actually I've almost finished, and that's what this video is about. So when I decided to add AI to this game, first of all I thought about the only example of a racing AI that I know of. A friend of mine created one where the vehicle would cast lots of rays around itself, and they were almost like cat whiskers that would sort of feel the terrain around. And then let's say the left hand can feel a barrier, maybe you can feel a barrier up in front. The vehicle might then decide to slow down and turn to the right to avoid crashing into the sides. And when it came to fine-tuning those values for how much to speed up and slow down and when to turn, he used a genetic algorithm. He spawned hundreds of race cars which would feel their way around the map. Hopefully they would finish, and then once he had a handful of them that got through to the finish line first, he would take their genes, which is just how much they were slowing down or turning left and right based on the sensory information they were given, and then he would combine them with a small chance of random mutations, and eventually he did get reasonable results. For this game I don't think that would work, as the maps are quite wide, and waiting up until you sort of feel a barrier on your left or right hand side probably just take too long to really make a reasonable effort of navigating around the map. So instead I thought the best thing to do would be to place a racing line in the map editor itself, and then get the computer to roughly follow that racing line. But then I thought probably the easiest way to place the racing line is just to play the game and record all of the points as I race around the map. Once I had that idea, I was curious to see what it would be like if I just recorded my playthrough and then simply replayed it. So I knocked together a quick bit of code to store the position, rotation and timestamp of the player's vehicle, and then another little script just to interpolate between those recorded points. And the results are actually really fantastic. When you play the game, you can't really tell, unless you've played it several times, that these are pre-recorded playthroughs. Once I scaled up to having 8 races in a map, one of the things I had to do was to give them starting positions and then have them drive towards a point in the recording and then pick up the recording from that point onwards. Otherwise they would end up overlapping with each other. So at this point I wanted to sort of consider whether we've lost anything from this approach. So on the upside we do have human looking behavior coming out of it because it is just recorded human behavior. Then considering the downsides, we might think that we've lost the ability to add combat in at a later point, or if two vehicles clash into each other, are they going to be able to react in a realistic way? If it's just a dumb recording, isn't it going to lose all sort of interaction? And actually that's not the case. So first of all, I already have a small script that will drive the vehicle towards a recording and pick it up from that point. So then if any of the vehicles ever get nudged out of the way, they can react to that and just sort of turn on that behavior again and travel back towards a recording. Often games have adaptive difficulty, especially in racing games where the AI will speed up or slow down to stick with the player. Originally when I was thinking about this, I was thinking that I would cap each recording to 1 lap. But actually, if we chunk the map into different sections, we can choose new recordings per section. So let's say all of the AI racers are ahead of the player. Next time the recording runs out, they can choose one of the slowest ones. This also has the added benefit of increasing the variance that we see out of the AI players, because they're no longer playing through one long recording every time. They're now choosing randomly from many different short recordings and stitching together their own sort of race throughs that way. In addition to this, we can also harvest player data as well, and quickly we should be able to create a large data set. And this will also create a kind of quasi form of multiplayer where all the multiplayer is asynchronous. Overall, I'm really pleased with this approach. I mean, I thought creating the AI for this was going to take me probably months, and it would be a long drawn out process for every map, having to fine tune things or placing lots of waypoints. But actually it's taken me roughly a day, and I think I've got pretty much the entire system finished. When we come to add combat in the future, we might have to consider making combat a thing that the AI decides to perform on its own, not based on recordings, because it would be kind of weird if they recorded you shooting at someone. They're not obviously going to be guaranteed to be there when you do it. But I think it'll be easy to handle those edge cases in the future. I think overall we've left the doors open to ourselves for lots of other things. And we shouldn't be too constrained by this approach. Now there are some tiny details that I didn't really go over, like we need to record them per vehicle because each vehicle has different handling. We need to throw in some versioning control as well. If we push a patch, maybe we change a map. We want to make sure that recordings are separate for different versions of the maps, things like that. But yeah, overall, super happy with this approach.